Ladies and gentlemen, listen. This world is loud. It's chaotic. Everybody's got an opinion, everybody's got noise, and most of them are trying to drag you into their storm. But here's the truth. You don't have to participate in other people's chaos. You've got one life, one mind, one inner peace, and yet too many of us are out here handing that peace away like it's free samples at a gas station. Why? Today, we're going to talk about how to draw the line, how to take your power back, how to stop letting people who haven't built anything try to destroy what you are building. So buckle up. This isn't about being cold, it's about being clear. This is about protecting your space, your mental clarity, and your damn soul. Let's get into it. Well, your peace is not just a good feeling or a temporary state of mind, it's your foundation. It's the core of your ability to think clearly, make wise decisions, and show up as your best self. Without peace, everything in your life starts to feel like noise, pressure, or chaos. And yet, most people don't guard it. Most people treat their peace like an afterthought, like something that'll take care of itself. But the truth is, your peace is under constant attack from distractions, toxic people, emotional vampires, social media, expectations, and even your own inner critic. You have to actively protect it the same way you'd protect your home if someone tried to break in. Think about it. If someone walked into your house without permission and started rearranging your furniture, eating your food, insulting your family, would you let them? Of course not. You'd throw them out. So why do we let people walk into our mental space and do exactly that? Every time you let someone's negativity live rent free in your head, you're allowing them to rearrange your emotional furniture. Every time you let someone's drama pull you in, you're giving them control over your day. Every time you let an outside voice become louder than your inner voice, you're weakening your center. And the longer you allow that, the further away you get from your own power. Peace isn't passive. It's not just something that happens when everything is going right. True peace is sorrows built, it's is chosen, and it's ever defended. You have to create systems around yourself that guard your peace like a fortress. That means boundaries. That means being selective about who you let into your inner circle. That means being okay with saying no, walking away, or even being misunderstood. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone should have a say in your mood. You're not obligated to let chaos in just because it shows up with a smile or calls itself family or friend. We're living in a time where overstimulation is normal. People are addicted to outrage. Misery is marketed like a lifestyle. And if you're not careful, you'll wake up one day full of anxiety, burnout, and resentment, and you won't even know why. It'll be death by 1,000 cuts. A little drama here, a little negativity there, a little self-abandonment every time you say yes when you meant no. That's how peace is lost, not in one big event, but in a series of moments when you didn't protect it. So protecting your peace means learning to notice those moments. It means tuning into your own energy like a radar. Who drains you? What triggers you? Where do you feel tension? And instead of brushing it off, you respond, you adjust, you step back, you shut the door. You don't need a big announcement. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone. Your peace is yours, and it's not up for debate. This also means being honest with yourself. Sometimes you're the one disturbing your own peace. Through self-sabotage, through fear, through holding on to things you've outgrown. Protecting your peace isn't just about blocking out the external noise. It's about cleaning up the internal noise too. Facing what you've been avoiding. Doing the hard work of healing, of letting go, of sitting in silence when silence is uncomfortable. Because peace doesn't always come with comfort, but it always comes with clarity. Not every battle is yours to fight. That's a hard truth for people who are naturally empathetic, loyal, or driven by a sense of justice. When you care deeply, it's easy to feel like you have to get involved in every disagreement, every crisis, every situation where someone's energy feels off or wrong. But the problem with that mindset is it drains you faster than you realize. You end up carrying weight that was never meant for you, stepping into chaos that doesn't serve you, and losing your focus in battles that don't build you. There's a difference between being strong and being distracted. There's a difference between standing up for what matters and jumping into every emotional fire around you. Some fires aren't yours to put out. Some storms aren't meant for you to walk into. And the sooner you learn that, the more energy, time, and clarity you reclaim for the fights that dog matter. Because the truth is, your peace isn't just disturbed by loud, aggressive situations. It's often chipped away by your own inability to let things beg. You don't have to argue with everyone who misunderstands you. You don't need to respond to every comment. You don't have to fix people who refuse to fix themselves. Letting go of unnecessary battles doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. It's a form of emotional intelligence. People who know who they are, who know what they're building, don't waste time on things that don't align with their vision. They don't get pulled into every drama. They don't try to control narratives that aren't theirs to begin with. It's easy to get caught up in the belief that if you don't stand up or say something, you're somehow failing. But silence can be powerful, distance can be healing, and detachment isn't apathy, it's clarity. When you stop reacting to everything, you start choosing your responses with purpose. You start realizing that some people want you to fight with them. They feed on the conflict. They want your energy, not because they respect it, but because they need it to validate their own chaos. And it's not just other people. Sometimes the battle isn't even external. It's internal. The war in your mind between who you are and who others expect you to be. The pressure to prove yourself, to be liked, to never disappoint anyone. That's a battle too. And often it's one that keeps you stuck in patterns that steal your peace. When you finally choose not to fight that battle anymore, when you choose authenticity over approval, you free yourself. One of the most powerful things you can learn is the art of strategic withdrawal. You don't always have to win. You don't have to get the last word. You don't need to convince them, change them, or even be understood. Sometimes walking away is the most powerful move you can make. Not out of fear, not out of weakness, but because your energy is sacred. Your time is limited, and your purpose is too big to waste on things that won't matter 5 minutes from now, let alone 5 years. You also have to accept that not everyone will like your detachment. Some people will call it selfish. Others will try to guilt you back into battles you've already outgrown. That's okay. Let them talk. The moment you start living for your peace instead of their approval, you begin to build a life that actually feels like yours. A life with space, with calm, with direction, and with that peace comes clarity. Clarity about where you're going, who you're becoming, and what truly deserves your energy. Because when you're not exhausted from unnecessary battles, you're finally able to focus on what matters. You're able to show up fully for the things that align with your values, your vision, and your growth. People's opinions are projections, not instructions. The sooner you understand this, the freer you become. Every opinion someone has about you, whether it's praise, criticism, doubt, or judgment, says more about them than it does about you. Human beings are constantly filtering the world through their own beliefs, fears, insecurities, and past experiences. So when someone tells you you're not good enough, or that your dream is unrealistic, or that you should be more like this or less like that, they're not offering universal truth. They're revealing their own limitations. You've probably been told at some point to not take things personally, but what does that really mean? It means recognizing that most of what people say has nothing to do with your truth and everything to do with their story. If someone grew up thinking that success is only valid if it looks a certain way, they might criticize your unconventional path. If someone is uncomfortable with confidence, they might label you arrogant. If someone hasn't done the inner work to heal, they might project their pain onto you every time you try to grow. That's not your fault. And it's not your job to carry their projections like they're facts. The danger comes when you start internalizing those projections. When you hear someone's doubt and start doubting yourself. When you hear someone's fear and begin shrinking your goals. When you hear someone's opinion and treat it like an instruction manual for your life. That's how people lose themselves, by trying to live a life designed by voices that were never meant to guide them. You end up tiptoeing around other people's comfort zones, instead of standing fully inside your own purpose. But here's the thing, you don't need permission to be yourself. You don't need everyone to agree with your choices. You don't need to explain your peace, your healing, or your progress to people who aren't even listening with an open heart. You get to decide whose voice matters, and even more importantly, you get to decide when to turn the volume down completely. That doesn't mean you close yourself off to feedback. Growth requires input. Wisdom can come from unexpected places. But there's a difference between feedback and projection. Feedback comes from a place of care, understanding, and alignment. Projection comes from a place of fear, control, or insecurity. One helps you grow. The other keeps you stuck. You have to develop the emotional discernment to know the difference. A big part of protecting your peace is understanding this filter. Is this about me, or is this about them? Before you accept someone's words as truth, ask yourself where it's coming from. Are they speaking from experience or from ego? Are they building you or limiting you? Are they encouraging your potential or enforcing their own fears? That one pause, that one moment of reflection can keep you from letting the wrong voices shape your identity. Social media, in particular, amplifies the noise. People you've never met feel entitled to tell you who you are, what you should believe, how you should feel. But a million opinions still don't equal one truth. Just because it's loud doesn't mean it's wise. And just because it's popular doesn't mean it's right for you. You have to come back to your inner voice. That calm place inside where your intuition speaks without fear, without the need to impress, without the need for validation. That's the voice that knows what you're capable of. That's the voice that sees your potential, even when others don't. And that voice gets drowned out when you're too busy performing for everyone else's expectations. The moment you stop treating other people's projections as instructions, you take back your authority. You stop letting random comments dictate your direction. You stop adjusting your worth based on someone else's comfort level. You move from being reactive to being intentional. You stop needing to fit in and start focusing on standing out for the right reasons, in your own way, on your own terms. Set boundaries without guilt. It's self-respect, not selfishness. Most people are taught from a young age to be agreeable, to put others first, to avoid confrontation. And while kindness and empathy are important, they become harmful when they're used as reasons to keep sacrificing your own mental and emotional well-being. Boundaries are not walls that shut people out. They're doors that determine who and what gets access to your space, your energy, your time, and your peace. Without boundaries, you're not being kind, you're being compliant, and over time, compliance becomes resentment. It's hard for people who care deeply to say no. There's this fear of being seen as rude, cold, or difficult. But the truth is, every time you say yes to something that drains you, you're saying no to something that could fulfill you. Every time you allow someone to overstep, interrupt, disrespect, or emotionally dump on you without limits, you're sending a message, one that says, I don't matter as much as you. That message doesn't just go to them, it goes to your own subconscious. Eventually, your mind starts to believe that your comfort, your needs, and your peace are optional. Boundaries are not just about managing others, they're about honoring yourself. They're about identifying what you will and won't allow in your life and having the courage to communicate that clearly. You can't control how others respond, but you can control how consistently you enforce your standards. And yes, people might get uncomfortable, some may push back, that's normal. People who benefit from your lack of boundaries are usually the first to resist when you finally put them up. But discomfort isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's often a sign that you're doing something necessary. Saying no is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone long explanations for protecting your peace. You don't need to apologize for taking care of your energy. You are not required to make yourself small so someone else can feel big. And you're not responsible for regulating other people's emotions at the cost of your own stability. That's a heavy weight to carry, and it's not yours. A life without boundaries becomes a life full of silent resentment, emotional exhaustion, and blurred identities. You lose track of where you end and others begin. You say yes to dinner when you want to rest. You stay on the phone when you want silence. You agree to help when your plate is already full. And then you wonder why you feel tired all the time, why you feel disconnected from yourself, why everything feels like an obligation instead of a choice. The answer is simple: you've made too much room for everyone else and not enough room for you. Healthy boundaries are how you reclaim that room. They create space for clarity, creativity, rest, and real connection. They help you attract the kind of relationships that are built on mutual respect instead of silent sacrifice. When you show others that you take your own peace seriously, they either rise to that level or they leave. And either outcome is a win. This also means setting boundaries with yourself. Not every distraction, craving, or impulse deserves your attention. Self-boundaries are just as important as external ones. Stop scrolling when you said you'd work. Stop checking your phone during your recharge time. Stop feeding habits that chip away at your discipline and your focus. You can't expect others to honor your boundaries if you keep violating your own. It's not your job to make everyone comfortable. It's your job to live in alignment with your values. You don't need to be aggressive. You don't need to explain your trauma. You just need to be consistent. People will adjust or they won't. But your peace will grow either way, and that's what matters. Silence is a superpower. Use it to disarm chaos. In a world that never stops talking, where everyone is shouting over each other to be seen, to be heard, to be right, silence stands out. It confuses people. It makes them uncomfortable. But it's also one of the most powerful responses you can give when someone or something is trying to pull you out of alignment. Silence is not weakness. It's not surrender. It's control. It's discipline. It's clarity in a world obsessed with noise. There's a reason people fear silence during conflict. When you don't react, you take away the fuel that keeps chaos burning. People expect you to respond, to fight back, to explain yourself. That's how they maintain control, by keeping you engaged in their emotional storm. But when you stay silent, when you don't let your energy get hijacked, you regain the upper hand. You show that you don't owe the moment your peace. You show that your stability can't be rattled by every trigger that comes your way. Not everything deserves your response. Some things only exist to provoke you, to drag you down into cycles of pointless debate, drama, or emotional drain. Silence is how you choose not to participate. It's how you say, I see what this is, and I'm not interested. And that kind of restraint, that's power most people don't have. Most people react without thinking. They feel attacked and respond instantly. But when you lead with silence, you buy yourself time. Time to assess, time to understand. Time to choose a response that comes from strength instead of impulse. There's also a deeper layer to silence, one that's about listening. When you stop talking, stop defending, stop trying to control the narrative, you start hearing things more clearly. You hear your intuition, you hear the truth beneath the noise. You start recognizing patterns, who's always negative, who's always interrupting your growth, who only calls when they need something. Silence gives you space to observe what's real. It strips away distractions and lets you see the full picture without distortion. Silence isn't just for external chaos, it's a weapon against internal chaos too. Your mind needs quiet. Constant stimulation, endless opinions, non-stop engagement. It wears you down. That's why solitude is sacred. That's why time alone in stillness can feel like a reset. When you shut off the world, even for a few minutes, you create the space to breathe, to feel, to process, to come back to center. It's in that silence where you find answers you've been chasing in all the noise. There's a difference between silence and suppression. Silence is chosen. Suppression is forced. Suppression is when you swallow your truth to avoid discomfort. But silence is when you choose not to waste your truth where it won't be honored. You're not pretending everything's okay. You're just not handing your power to people who can't hold it responsibly. Silence is strategic. It's mindful. And often, it's the loudest message you can send. People won't always understand your silence. They might interpret it as indifference or arrogance. Let them. That's their interpretation, not your responsibility. Your job isn't to make every silence comfortable for others. It's to make space for peace, for control, for clarity. And when you master that, you stop letting the world dictate your energy. You learn to hold your ground without needing to make noise. Silence creates space, space to think, space to heal, space to detach from what doesn't serve you. It allows you to move through life with intention instead of reactivity. And in that space, you become more selective with your words, your time, and your presence. You stop chasing validation and you start valuing peace. Your energy is currency. Stop spending it on people who drain it. Just like money, your energy is a limited resource. You only get so much of it each day, and how you spend it determines how you feel, how you perform, how you grow. Yet most people give it away freely, without thinking, without boundaries, and often to the wrong people. They pour it into conversations that go nowhere, arguments that don't matter, relationships that feel more like transactions than connections. And then they wonder why they're tired, unmotivated, or stuck. Every interaction costs something. Some people fill you up, while others deplete you the moment they walk into the room. You have to start paying attention to that. Who do you feel lighter around? Who leaves you questioning yourself? Who always needs something but never gives anything back? The people around you either multiply your energy or drain it. There is no neutral. And the more you invest in energy draining people, the more bankrupt your own peace becomes. Energy vampires aren't always loud or obvious. Sometimes they show up as friends who only call when they're in crisis. Sometimes they're coworkers who constantly complain and expect you to fix it. Sometimes they're family members who cross boundaries and guilt you into tolerating it. These patterns become normal if you let them. You tell yourself you're just being nice or helpful or loyal. But if you look closely, it's not generosity, it's self-neglect. You're overextending because you're afraid of disappointing others, even when it means disappointing yourself. You have to stop romanticizing emotional labor that's one-sided. You don't owe people unlimited access to your time, your attention, or your mental space, especially not at the expense of your own well-being. Protecting your energy isn't rude. It's necessary. It's how you preserve your clarity, your creativity, your strength. Because when you're constantly giving to people who only take, you're operating from an empty tank, and you can't pour into anything meaningful, your goals, your purpose, your joy. When you're constantly drained, there's a mindset shift that needs to happen. You're not here to save everyone. You're not a battery pack for people who refuse to charge themselves. You're allowed to outgrow people who refuse to evolve. You're allowed to say, I can't be your emotional dumping ground anymore. You're allowed to choose peace over guilt, because the truth is, some people don't want to grow. They want to stay stuck and have someone else absorb the cost. Don't let that someone be you. This isn't about cutting everyone off. It's about being intentional. Who gets access to your energy should be based on how they treat it. Do they respect your boundaries? Do they bring value into your life? Do they celebrate your growth? Or do they only show up when you're struggling? Relationships should be reciprocal, not perfectly balanced every day, but balanced over time. If it's always one-sided, always draining, always pulling, you need to reevaluate why you're still engaging. Energy management is life management. If you're constantly tired, anxious, or overwhelmed, it's not always about what you're doing. It's about who you're doing it around. Some environments are emotionally expensive. Some conversations are too loud for your focus. Some connections are too shallow for your growth. And it's your responsibility to start noticing that. You don't need to explain your shift to everyone. You don't need to justify your peace to people who never valued it. Let your energy speak for itself. Start aligning with people and environments that recharge you, the ones that challenge you without depleting you, the ones that feel like mutual elevation, not constant repair work. Because when you start spending your energy wisely, everything else starts to change. Your mood improves, your clarity sharpens, your momentum returns. You stop feeling like life is something to survive and start treating it like something to build on your terms with power and intention.